Welcome back to Unfiltered and Off Script. I'm your host, Jason Vaughan, and today we're talking about one of the most humbling experiences known to mankind: unrequited love. That's when you love somebody with your entire heart, and they love you too, just in a completely different category. You're thinking romance, they're thinking emergency contact. You're imagining matching pajamas, vacations, and growing old together. Meanwhile, they're introducing you to people like, "This is Jason. He's basically family." Basically family? That is the most disrespectful sentence you can hear when you're attracted to somebody. I don't want to be your cousin. I already have cousins. Half of them owe me money. I'm trying to kiss you. Unrequited love will have you doing things that make absolutely no sense. You start analyzing text messages like you work for the FBI. They send, "Okay," and now you're staring at your phone like, why did they use a capital O? Why is there a period? Is that an angry period? Maybe they typed it while smiling. No, they typed "okay" because they wanted the conversation to end. But when you're in love, you become an Olympic-level excuse maker. They haven't texted me back in 3 days because they're probably busy. Busy doing what? Negotiating world peace? Nobody is that busy. People take their phones into the bathroom. A person will be sitting on the toilet watching 17 videos about a raccoon stealing cat food, but somehow they didn't have 4 seconds to text you back. Unrequited love is especially dangerous when you're creative, because now you start turning rejection into art. You write songs, you write poetry, you start posting suspicious captions. Some people don't appreciate real love until it's gone. Meanwhile, the person you're talking about is peacefully eating chicken wings and has no idea they're the villain in your emotional documentary. That's the crazy thing about writing music. Sometimes you create a song about somebody who didn't want you, and the song ends up attracting somebody who wants you a little too much. Let me explain. I released this song about wanting somebody I couldn't have. The song was emotional. It was honest. It had pain in it. It had passion. It had the kind of lyrics that make people stare out of a car window even when they're sitting in the driver's seat. A few days after I released it, I got a message from a woman. She said, "I heard your song, and I feel like you were singing directly to me." Now that sentence sounds romantic until you remember that I had never met this woman before in my life. I replied, "Thank you. I'm glad you connected with it." That should have been the end of the conversation. It was not. She responded, "I knew you would say that." What do you mean you knew? Are you psychic? Did the song come with a prophecy? Then she started telling me things about myself that I had never told her. She said, "You grew up in Queens, right?" I said, "How do you know that?" She said, "You mentioned it in an interview from a few years ago." Okay, that's a little strange, but the interview was public. Then she said, "And you like Dominican food?" I said, "A lot of people like Dominican food." She said, "Especially mangú with fried cheese." Now I'm sitting there looking at my phone like the government has reopened my file. I asked, "How exactly did you find all this information?" She sent me a laughing emoji and said, "I did a little research." Ladies and gentlemen, whenever somebody says they did a little research, prepare yourself to discover they have built a full investigation board in their bedroom. My picture is probably in the middle with red string connecting me to my childhood barber, my third-grade teacher, and a restaurant I visited once in 2018. She knew my stage name, my real name, my music, my old social media pages. She had even found a picture of me wearing an outfit I had forgotten I owned. She said, "You look good in the blue jacket." I said, "That jacket has been gone for 6 years." She said, "I know." I know? Ma'am, why do you know the current location of my old jacket? At this point, I should have blocked her. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. Curiosity is how people end up opening doors in horror movies. I kept responding because part of me was concerned, but another part of me was impressed. I'm not going to lie. Finding all that information required commitment. The people I actually dated barely remembered my birthday. This woman knew what month I changed my hairstyle. Then she finally admitted why she had looked me up. She said, "Your song made me feel like I needed to meet you. I wanted to see whether you were single because I wanted to take you on a date. Not go on a date with me. Take me on a date." She had already assumed control of the operation. I asked, "What happened to simply asking for my number?" She said, "I needed to make sure you weren't secretly married, wanted by the police, or pretending to be younger than you are." Honestly, I couldn't even argue with that logic. The research was frightening, but the background check was responsible. She suggested we meet in a public restaurant, which made me feel a little better. I sent the location to 2 friends, shared my phone's location, and told them, "If I disappear, check the woman who knows about the blue jacket." I arrived at the restaurant early. She was already there. Of course, she was already there. This woman probably knew what time I was going to leave my house before I did. She stood up, smiled, and said, "You're exactly how I imagined." That is not a calming thing to hear from someone who has conducted a private documentary about you. I sat down and said, "Before we order anything, I have one question. How much do you actually know about me?" She smiled and said, "Enough to know you're probably going to order the chicken." I closed the menu. Because I was absolutely going to order the chicken, now I'm wondering whether she hacked my mind or whether I'm just extremely predictable. The date was surprisingly fun. She was hilarious, confident, and completely unapologetic about how she had found me. She said, "You put a song on the internet about wanting love. I heard it, found you, and offered you love. I don't understand why you're acting surprised." I said, "Because most people just stream the song. They don't launch a search and rescue mission for the artist." She laughed and said, "You should be grateful. Your marketing worked." And technically, she was right. I had written a song about chasing somebody who didn't want me, only to be chased by somebody who heard the song. That is poetic justice. The universe looked at me and said, "Oh, you enjoy pursuing unavailable people? Let's see how you like being located." But there is a real lesson underneath all of this foolishness. Unrequited love can make us believe that the person rejecting us is the only person capable of loving us. We get so focused on one closed door that we stop noticing everybody else standing outside the house. Sometimes we're chasing someone who takes 3 days to answer while ignoring someone who would cross the internet, study 12 interviews, locate our missing jacket, and reserve a dinner table. Now, to be clear, there is a difference between being persistent and violating somebody's boundaries. Do not follow people home. Do not appear at their workplace uninvited. Do not hide inside their bushes while playing their favorite song through a Bluetooth speaker. That is not romantic. That is how you get introduced to law enforcement. The funny part of my story was that she found publicly available information, contacted me directly, respected my answer, and suggested meeting safely in public. She was intense, but she wasn't dangerous. At least, that's what I told myself while checking underneath my car after dinner. But the whole experience taught me something important. Rejection is not proof that you are unlovable. It only means your love landed in the wrong mailbox. You're delivering flowers to an address that ordered pizza. That doesn't mean the flowers aren't beautiful. It means you need to stop standing outside that house yelling, "But these roses were expensive." Take your roses somewhere they're appreciated, Stop auditioning for a role in somebody's life when they have already told you the position has been filled. And stop treating mixed signals like a secret love language. If somebody likes you, you should not need a detective, a spiritual advisor, 3 group chats, and a 10-part podcast series to confirm it. Love should require courage, but it shouldn't require forensic science. And sometimes, the moment you stop begging one person to notice you, somebody else hears your song and says, "Don't worry, I already found him," which is beautiful and slightly terrifying. So here's to unrequited love, the pain that gives us character, gives us music, and occasionally gives a complete stranger enough motivation to locate our entire digital history and invite us to dinner. Just remember, protect your heart, respect boundaries, and delete any old pictures involving questionable jackets. Because somebody is always doing a little research. This has been Unfiltered and Off Script. I'm Jason Vaughan, and I'll catch y'all in the next episode. Unless that woman already knows where the next episode is being recorded. In that case, I'll probably catch her first.